The title of the class is Rediscovering Questions. And I want to just kind of tell you, I want to go back to last class, right? So remember how I said that when I was young, I didn't take school seriously, and so it just wasn't that important to me. And in fact, it wasn't until the middle of my third year in college, in which I think my college GPA was like a 1.8 or something at the end of my, like, kind of 2.5 years in, and I would just stop going to class, and I would get a W, right? And that's just kind of how it worked. And it wasn't very expensive back then, so it didn't really matter. So at the end of 2.5 years, I was about halfway through my freshman year, even though I started every semester full time. And the issue, I mean, I had other things going on, right? I was trying to be a rock and roll musician, and I mean, there were all sorts of things, right? But throughout my life, I never saw really, in some ways, the value of school, because it was never a place where I was encouraged to ask questions. And I just didn't really know that I had many questions inside of my mind, because it just wasn't a place. Now, maybe it might have been. I might have had some teachers who were actually pretty cool, but I don't have any recollection of that. And I went to, largely like working class. This is my community. It's my background. And so I don't know. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But since I didn't need to get good grades, nothing really mattered. It wasn't until, by the way, I got high for the first time that I realized how awesome really thinking was, like how my mind could generate an almost an unending stream of questions about the world. Okay, so I learned that asking questions was something that you didn't actually do in a class, outside of a class, because in a classroom, what happens is you learn to ask the questions and answer questions that other people have decided are the correct ones. And so, you go into a class and it's just like, what's the answer? Just tell me what the answer is, right? It's like, it doesn't matter what the question is, just tell me what the answer is. And that's how many of you have gone through, most of you. I could almost venture to say all of you, unless you were homeschooled or went to some alternative school or something. But this is kind of how it works. That's the education system, right? It's like prison. And, you learn, it's like prison. I mean, it's essentially what it is, right? And then you've got to follow all the rules, and, so I detest that. So I don't like the fact that, we come in here, and there are lots of rules in here, right? I mean, really are a lot of rules. So that sucks. Like, I'd rather not have that. But what I've learned over time is, if I just give you these rules, and then I give you this time right here in this room, just sit. You don't have to take notes. There's nothing that happens in here that you have to remember at all. If you're going to take if you're watching from home, or you're watching a recording on the days when you decide you're not coming to class, then you have to remember long enough to answer the 4 questions that we lay out for you on the quizzes, right? That's how you're going to get your attendance points. Starting Monday, you're going to sign an attendance sheet in here, but from home, you answer those 4 questions. And those questions are really simple. They're like second grade level questions. If you're sitting in the room, you're going to answer them. So all you got to do is, you just have to have a decent enough memory that by the time we put the questions up, you're going to be able to answer them. And that's how you get your attendance points, right? Or you don't use attendance points because C's are in degrees and we're all going to die and the whole 9 yards. So who cares? But that's how you would do it, okay? So what I've learned is that I want to create a space where people are free to think, right? Just sit back and think and be sort of pulled into thinking. Not thinking like me, right? Definitely not thinking like me. If you're aware of it, you may know that I've been the darling of Fox News last summer. I was the persona non grata on Fox News for about a month. Like, Jesus, it was brutal. And then the summer before that, I was persona non grata among people on the left, right, who called me out because I'm racist and so on. Fox News called me out because I'm racist too. So I'm racist, I guess. If the right wing and the left wing both call you racist, I guess you're racist. So I guess I'm racist. So here we go. So isn't that awesome? You get to take a college course. The largest race and culture class in the world is taught by a racist, and you get to enroll in it. You know what I mean? And most of you are going to get A's because that's how this course operates. So you not only that, but you got an A in it. You got to explain, like, how'd you get an A in that? Well, I don't know what you're going to say. Okay, so I had the idea that I want to create an environment where people are free to just sit back and think. So not like me, not like anybody else, but my job is to provide, to provoke, to bring as many questions and ideas and thoughts into this classroom as I possibly can, and see if we can get us to think about some things and give you the opportunity to do that. Now, mind you, you may be like me. If this was in my first 2 years of college, I probably would have been sitting, in the back somewhere for a few weeks, and then I just would have stopped coming because I was busy trying to be a rock and roll star, man. And I had bigger things to do. But, also I didn't understand thinking inside of a room like this. And so I've decided that I'll put all these rules out. You just follow the rules. But in here, you got to let your minds go, right? If you entered this semester like really conservative, by the end of the semester, I want to bring you into the liberal world, right? I want you to walk away saying, like, man, I'm so much more liberal than I was. And if you entered this semester really liberal, like a social justice warrior or something, I don't know, I want you to leave the semester down here going like, you know what? Some of the stuff these conservatives are saying actually makes a lot of sense, right? When that kind of stuff happens, I really do my job because I confuse you into not really understanding what you say, and then you're like me, right? Remember, like you're as confused as I am, and confusion is a good thing, because through confusion we start to see things with greater clarity. But it's only through confusion, right? So that requires asking questions, and really, really asking questions. And like the what if questions, and like walking over here and kind of seeing things. First off, just generating questions. We by and large don't know how to do that. And open-ended questions, not closed-ended questions, not questions that have a single answer to them, but questions that are like, how is it that? Or what does it mean that X, right? And, what are the conditions under which people do Y? Whatever it is, these open-ended questions that are just kind of out there. And questions that don't have answers. And none of the questions we ask in here have answers. They really don't. And, you may think that you have solid answers to some of the issues that we're going to talk about, but trust me, you don't. There are no solid answers. There's nothing. You know what I mean? We're in here wearing masks. I can make what I think to be a really strong, really awesome argument for wearing a mask. Like, of course, man. And I can just turn that and make such an awesome, I think, and strong argument for not wearing a mask. And so here we are. And like, I pride myself in my ability to just bounce around everywhere so that I don't even know what I think. Because no matter what I think, I come up with some other question to ask that throws what I used to think 10 seconds ago into like a tumult of sorts, okay? So we have to ask questions. So today's just going to be asking questions, rediscovering our questions. And I say rediscovering because all of us were 2 years old and 3 years old and really annoying little shits, always bothering the adults around us. So why is this? And why is that? And what about this? And why is that? And you know how little 3-year-olds do that, and they drive you nuts, and yet it's so awesome that they're just asking everything. Well, why? And why? And why? And why? And then somewhere along the line, we forget that. And where we forget it is about the time we get into first grade, and they start giving us little marks on these pieces of paper. oh, Sam is a good student. He got the right answer. Not Sam is a good student. He asked a question that I've never thought of before. This little kid won't stop asking questions. He must drive you nuts at home, but it's so awesome that he's here asking endless amounts of questions. Like, this kid is really cool. It's like, no, it would be Sam, sit in the corner and shut the F up and just get the answer. And then once you start putting these little stars on my papers, I start thinking that that's the reward. And that's not the reward. The reward is getting to the end of your life and having some sense, maybe, of what the hell is going on in the world. Now, mind you, I haven't arrived there yet. I'm actually in the middle of this kind of end of midlife crisis that I feel like I'm dumber now than I've ever been. So I'm a little bit struggling with that, right? But nonetheless, I think I'm going to try to get there, right? Okay, so that's where we're at. That's where we're going to be, right? So just like last class, like that was like what happened at the end. So we had your two gentlemen, your two colleagues here, who hunt. And, and someone asked, which is a cool question, isn't that kind of barbaric? Like, you got the blood of these animals on your hands. And like, yeah, it is kind of barbaric. And I was thinking about one time, when I was, I was living in Ecuador, and we were going to have rabbit stew. Okay, rabbit stew, right? Okay, chicken stew, rabbit stew. And we went to the market, and we picked out the rabbits. And they're alive, right? And they're really cute bunnies, right? I don't know. Can you pull up a bunny? Just like a really nice photo of a bunny, so everyone kind of gets the sense of what this really means. And this is a market. This is an Ecuadorian market. So those of you who you don't have to have been to an Ecuadorian market to know what I'm talking about, but you get it, right? And so we pull these bunnies out. We take them back to the house. It's like, okay, well, someone's got to kill them. Right? Because we're going to eat them. So I'm like, well, shit. I'll kill him. I got to kill him. Like, I hadn't killed a bunny before. And I'm going to eat it. And so I'm going to have to kill these things. And so, I did what I would do and say like a little inner prayer to the bunnies. And then I killed them, right? Oh, yeah. Dude, that's probably about what they look like too, man. Can you imagine killing that, right? But if I gave you a bowl of rabbit stew and said, hey, try this stew, most of you would never see that. You wouldn't have a problem eating rabbit stew. Just like chickens are really cool. Chickens are cool, man. They're cute. They're cool. You eat chickens? So I killed it, broke its neck, skinned it, and ate it. And I felt like I owe that. I owe that to life itself. I owe that to the Creator, the circle of life. Life eats life. If I'm going to eat life, then I'm going to have to take life, right? And so I think, I think of all the times that I walked into a supermarket, let's say, and here's all the meat. Maybe not bunnies, but other meats, and then I just, pick up a package and I throw it in a cart. And I think, and I know nothing about that animal. I don't know. I don't even think about the fact that animal was raised in a factory farm and suffered its entire life. Just horrific conditions, and I don't even think about it. And I think the blood is on my hands there, far more so than when I took the life of two little cute bunnies, right? And so this is what this class is about. It's not, you don't have to agree with me. It doesn't really matter. My point is never to get you to agree with me, but my point is to push you. So, and if someone said, we don't have time right now, but if one of you said like, yeah, but what about this? My job is to take you by the throat, metaphorically, hold you up against the wall, and just hold you there and keep throwing things at you until you're so confused that you don't know what you think anymore. And that's when I let you down. That's when I win. Because now you have to go figure it out on your own. And I don't care what you think. You can then turn around and say, Sam Richards is a complete evil shit for killing 2 bunnies. Or you could do anything at all. It doesn't really matter. I don't care. But I want you to change how you're thinking. That's it. Just change how you're thinking. Because change in thinking is good. So my job is to be provocative enough. And if I can then be provocative enough to get you to the place where you think that, yeah, next time you eat rabbit stew, you should go kill the bunny. That's pretty cool. Doesn't mean you're going, it doesn't matter. It just means I've got you. You've got me. We're all in this. And to see that the world is really complicated and it's an awesome place, the more complicated it is. Is that cool? You got it, right? You got that, right? Yeah. All right, man. So, okay, we can go back. So what I'd like to do, normally what's going to happen in here is you all fill out the volunteer form. Usually what will happen is you'll get an email, you get a text message from Darnisha. You'll meet Darnisha. You'll meet everybody who's part of this, just so you know who you're communicating with. And then she'll say, like, hey, go into class and sit down in the front. Usually this area over here is really nice. And then you'll fill out a name tag, because I'm just terrible. You can tell me your name right now, and within 5 seconds I will have forgotten it already. It doesn't really matter. My mind just goes. So so it's really good if people can wear name tags. And then we do case studies in here, and then bring people up and we do case studies and that sort of. Today's not going to work that way. Today we're going to do volunteers. I'm just going to ask for invite certain people who would come down, who want to come down, and then we're going to ask questions. Okay, cool. And then when you're done, go see Nidhi over here, and she'll hook you up so you can fill out the volunteer form so that you can get extra credit for it. Okay? So what I'd like first, don't put the first slide up. Could we have 2 volunteers? First one is an international student. Where are you from? All right, come on, let's go. You're on. And then an American student. Ideally an American student. Hang on, let's do a, hang on one sec. I could maybe use you on a different one. How about a white student? Anybody in the back want to come down? All right, man. Do you want to do it? Yeah. Okay. No, right here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can. So here's the other thing that we do a lot of times. Just so you know, this is the beginning of the semester. Hang on, you take that, you take that. So I'll ask 2 of you. One thing I think works well for me when it's just 1 or 2 people is if you sit on the table, because then we're kind of the same height and it's less awkward for you. And is that good? You want to sit on the table? All right, Mom. So the 2 of you can sit on the table. Yeah, you can sit on it. Yep. And yeah, we got to make sure we social distance. The whole thing. All right. So and then here's the key, y'all. You ready? The microphones. So you have to talk right into them. And it may sound kind of loud down here, maybe, although sometimes it's hard to hear because the speakers are over here and over here. But you really always have to talk right into them, okay? So what is your name?
My name's Alex.
Allie? Alex? Dude, oh, wait, hang on. Also, by the way, you should know this. Because I was a drummer back in the day before we had, first off, sunscreen, but also earplugs, I have tinnitus, or tinnitus, whatever you want to say, really bad, ringing in my ears. Because you're just crashing cymbals constantly. And you drummers, that wear ear protection. So I wear this little earpiece up here, so now I can hear you perfectly. So we're going to start over now. So go ahead. What's your name and where are you from?
My name's Alex, and I'm from State College, Pennsylvania.
State College, Pennsylvania. Awesome, man.
My name is Archen, and I'm from China. My city is Hangzhou. It's a city with 8 million population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's your first name again?
Archen?
Archen?
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Of course, can you pronounce his name?
Archin.
Yeah.
She's got it.
bit hard.
Okay, so let's go to the first one. So, Alex, what I want you to do is ask Archen questions to discover as much about discrimination as you can in his country or his town or his city. Anything at all. And you just open your mind up, man. Like, what kinds of questions would you ask him? You're like, dude. So first off, let me just say the following. You get have you ever talked to a Chinese person about discrimination in China? No. So use the mic.
No.
Okay, good. Perfect. So you don't know anything, right? But now Alex here has this awesome opportunity to talk to this Chinese dude about discrimination in China. And that means you can ask any question you want, right? If you actually know about discrimination in China, you would know that there are probably a couple questions he doesn't want to answer, but you don't know that, and so whatever. So you have this opportunity. You don't know anything. You're not expected to know anything. You can't be seen. You're on camera here. There are people watching. There are probably people watching from other countries, maybe from China. Sometimes people watch. They get a VPN and watch from China. But the point is, you don't have to even think that you're going to sound stupid or sound dumb, because we've already said you're ignorant about discrimination in China. Ignorant meaning that you don't know anything, right? We misuse that term, by the way, a lot, but you just don't know anything. And why should you know anything? So just ask him some questions. And you can ask closed-ended and open-ended questions, but just start firing them off as fast as you can. Here, do you want me to help you? Is your mind freezing? Yeah. By the way, if you think from your seat, it's like when you watch Jeopardy from home. Everyone's an effing Jeopardy champion from home. Wait till you're standing there in the stage, right? It's not so easy. First off, we haven't even discovered if there is discrimination in China. Okay. So you can start right there.
Is there discrimination in China?
Of course. There's discrimination in every country, every place in the world.
Okay. How are people discriminated against in China?
Dude, awesome.
I would say that the most obvious one is the discrimination on incomes, basically social classes, and sometimes sexual discrimination, especially in workplaces. But usually it's very complicated topic to talk about. And
wait, hang on. I'm going to cut you off right there. Alex, that's a really cool point where you could jump in and ask a question. He just said it's a really complicated topic. So you could ask a really cool question right there.
Why is it a complicated topic?
Dude, yeah, except not why. Why is fine.
What makes it a complicated?
Dude, high five to you. Okay.
What makes it complicated?
Because China is a country with 1.4 billion people, and it's strongly divided. If you go to the richest place, like Shanghai, it's one of the richest cities in China. It's basically, I would say, it's just a New York in another language. But if you go to the poorest place, it's just so undeveloped, so that it's this difference just make this whole a big gap in the society, basically in every field, every place, and it's in all sort of forms. So that's basically the reason that make it so complicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What else do you have? And remember, what makes this difficult is, while you're thinking, when you're asking people questions, you really, really, really want to listen to what they're saying. Because often what we do in life is people start answering our questions, but we're already thinking about our next question. So you really, really want to listen to what it is that he's saying. And then when he's done, you're ready for your next question, right? So do you have another one?
Is there like discrimination between age ranges, like young people and older people? And
Yes. I would say that currently, I'm majoring in computer science, and in my field in China, people that are higher than 35, it's a bit hard for them to get a job in our field compared to people under 35.
Damn, seriously?
why?
Okay, nice. Yeah, even I was like, holy shit, really? Okay.
I have to say that the reason I think is there are just so many people and there isn't enough jobs for them. So basically, it's just a brutal competition. Yeah.
Alex, I have one for you. Think about discrimination what's the most problematic discrimination in the United States? Based on what? What is it based on?
Race?
Okay, which means, okay, go there. Just take that, apply that to China. This is what you know about here. Ask him some kind of question about how, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know anything about different races in China. Are there different, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Officially, we have 56 races in China.
Okay, and is there discrimination between races? Are there bigger races, like sizes?
Yes, the majority race, I think it takes up about 85% of the population. And the others, I would say that there are some discrimination between races, but the most of the reason is still related to incomes.
Okay, so
It's not purely race.
So I
Right,
want to
right.
just point something out here. So she asked, are there different racial groups in China? And we could say ancestry groups, ethnic groups, however you want to say it, right? Because we're going to talk about this. What's the difference between them? And he said, yes. She said, Alex, you said, I don't know anything about races in China. Are there different ones? And you're like, yes. When you said, yeah, 56, I heard this kind of energy go through the class. Nobody knew. Nobody knows that. I mean, there are a few of us in here who know that, but most of us don't, right? So you might feel in that moment, that would be the kind of moment where Alex would feel like, oh, God, 56, I should have known that at least. It's like, no, you shouldn't. There's nothing you should know.
Wait, you never know that before?
Yeah.
I know a lot of things about United States, but
Dude, that's because you're here, my friend. if she, yeah, exactly. All right, Alex. Hey, does anybody else have a question they want to ask? Does anyone have a question? They're like, oh, I'm dying to ask this question. Wait, hang on. Alex, do you have another one you want to ask him?
Is there discrimination between women, all over China at all?
yes, and currently it's a trendy topic in these years.
Wait, hang on. We're going to go. Before you go into that, we'll come back to that later in the semester. Can you stand up and when you get the mic in the class, it's really nice if you can just stand up and say your name, and the camera will pick you up. And go ahead.
Hi, I'm Paige, and I wanted to ask if you have ever experienced discrimination in China.
Hi, Paige.
Whoa, awesome question. Bro,
I'm sorry, could you repeat
have you ever experienced discrimination in China?
I'm sorry, could
yourself.
you repeat the question?
Yeah, that's the question. Have you ever experienced discrimination? Have you yourself experienced discrimination in China by other Chinese?
I would say basically I have never experienced. But partially that's because I consider myself to be upper class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Wait, dude. Are you? Wait.
Yeah,
hang on.
like.
Paige. Are you straight, bro?
Pardon me?
Are you straight? Are you gay? Are you straight?
I'm straight.
All right. Paige, before I ask this question, Paige, are you straight?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
You have a boyfriend?
Yes.
All right. I was going to ask. All right. Dude, are you one of the Chinese guys driving around in a Maserati or Ferrari or something?
No, I'm not that rich.
Okay, all right. I'll just check in. Paige, I was just trying to help you out here. You know what I mean? Or Alex, I mean. Pardon. Hey, so listen. So we can cut. You see, that's cool, right? You learn some things, right? And like this is what we. Sometimes we don't ask questions because we think we're going to sound foolish or dumb, and you know, it's like, no, this is it, man. You have an opportunity. First off, race and cultural relations here, the stuff we talk about, is some of the single most complicated issues that you're ever going to talk about. And if we don't take this opportunity to talk to each other and ask each other questions, then where are we going to be? Well, we're going to be screwed, which is what we are if you pay attention to social media, you know. Anyway, hey, listen, awesome. Thanks. Appreciate it. We'll have you back up at some point, I'm sure. Thanks, man. Hey, can you give him a hand? That was awesome, man. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Oh, here we go, man. How about a Saudi student who's Muslim? There's so many Saudis in here, so how about a Saudi student who's Muslim? Could be anybody doesn't even have to be Muslim, but yeah, better if it is. How about one of the Saudi students? Dude, you're Saudi, right? Emirati? How do I know you're Saudi? Look at you. What's that? Are you Saudi? Do you want to do it? Come on, look at you, man. Come on up. You're a hair guy. Okay, definitely. All right. And then someone who's Jewish. Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. Bro, you can sit up here. There you are. What's your name? Tuck in that.
Badr.
Wait,
Badr.
hang on. Say it again.
Badr, BDR.
Oh, better.
Yeah.
Like butter, but better.
Yeah.
But it's like butter, but actually better. All right, better. And what's your name?
Jordan.
Say it in the mic.
Jordan.
Where are you from?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. Yeah. God, what are you doing here? Oh my God. Dude, she's from Las Vegas. Do you gamble?
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's haram, my friend. So,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
if you said it on the whole microphone, I would have to like send it to your parents. Anyway, you get all these like Saudi kids that come here because gambling is haram for Muslims, right? Haram is sinful. You get these Saudi kids, and then like for spring break, they're like all flying out to Las Vegas. I guess because of the sun. It has nothing to do with gambling, I guess. I don't know, dude. Okay. Next slide. So, better. How'd I do? Okay? Better? Yeah. Okay. Ask Jordan.
Yes.
Ask Jordan questions about anti-Semitism. Just whatever you want to ask about anti-Semitism. First off, you might not even know what it is, so you could start right there. By the way, I want to point something out here, right? Once again, I'm going to say the same thing that we said with Alex about when you're up here and you're asked to first off, dude, there's nothing you can say that's racist or problem. There's no question you could ask that would be a problem to ask. Nothing. So do you feel like, or you don't want to ask the wrong thing?
Yeah, somewhat.
Okay, but there's nothing you could ask. Trust me. I mean, zero. So don't worry about that. So it's anything at all. Just start. You just want to learn about anti-Semitism, like.
Like, did you ever face a person who's anti-Semitism?
All 4 of my great-grandparents died in Auschwitz, and my parents moved from New York to Las Vegas to escape some of like the anti-Semitism there. And personally, in both middle school and high school, I've had swastikas drawn on some of my personal belongings.
While you were in New York or in Vegas?
In Vegas.
Okay, hold the mic close.
In Vegas.
Okay. Father, go ahead.
But did you like ever like faced any person who was like directly like insulting in some way, like towards Jewish?
I once was doing a school presentation in high school, and a parent of one of the girls that was in my class who happened to be Palestinian came up to me and called me a dirty Jew.
Should we like talk about Palestine and Israel?
You could ask about that. How does that
I have no
feel?
filter. Ask me anything.
Okay. But you could stay away from that. Why don't you just stay with this? Think about like when you think. So she gave you her example, but what I'm thinking and where my mind goes is, it's like how common is your story? That's where my mind goes. So if I were you, I'd want to know like, wait, hang on, can we go from you to all the other Jewish students out here? Can you speak on their behalf? Which you can't because you don't know how many are here. But just talk about Jewish people in general. My mind wants to go there.
Yeah.
So what question would you ask her then for that?
Like in regards
Go ahead. Hold it.
like so a direct question that for all Jewish like students that like I didn't get your
No,
point,
like
actually.
so it could be like, how common is your experience?
How common? So like for every Jewish
Yeah.
student?
How common is what you just told
Yeah.
me? How
common for her now?
Yeah. How common for other people?
Oh. So how common is it? Like.
I feel like it's extremely common, but it's a lot that's like pushed under the table, like pushed under the rug so people don't know about it. Like there have been so many anti-Semitic things that have happened at Penn State that are always like pushed under the rug, like things that are stolen, people that are discriminated against, but that can also be towards any religious or cultural value. There's discrimination at every level, but it just matters which one you focus in on the most.
Then how would an anti-Semitic person know that you're Jewish to like harass you or insult you?
Dude, awesome question. So how would someone who's anti-Semitic even know that you're Jewish? Yep.
Well, walking in and out of the cultural or religious places on campus, like there's the Hillel that's in the spiritual center, and then there's off-campus religious places like the Chabad that like a lot of like other organizations go to. There's also just like super common stereotypes for Jewish people.
That makes sense.
Dude, she just gave you a question. Now she just gave you a question right there. She said it right on your lap. I'm looking at it. Do you know what it is? Do you see it?
No.
She said, there are just so many common
can't see the
stereotypes
Yeah.
of Jewish people.
Yeah, like just like she mentioned, like she would go to
Yeah.
religious places.
Right, so what
Yeah.
else? It's like, what are some of those stereotypes?
Oh. Yeah, so Like, what are some types of the stereotypes that Jewish people have?
Okay. Well, there are some like Jewish organizations on campus, like some of the Greek organizations that are like specifically Jewish. So like some of those stuff are like literally noses, like some literally, like people say that Jews have different noses, like where we come from, like stuff we say.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know. Like, if I looked at you, I wouldn't say that you were Jewish at all. Like, there isn't like.
Thanks.
Like, you don't have the nose of a Jewish one.
You can't see my
Dude.
face.
There you go. And the Jewish nose is the Arab nose anyway, so it's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so this is awesome, right?
Yeah.
So what's interesting here is, first off, you will notice that I asked a Muslim person to ask questions to a Jewish person, right? A student who's Muslim to ask questions to a student who's Jewish. And, I felt the energy in here go a little bit like, oh, okay, because there's like a thing, right? Do you study Israel and Saudi Arabia?
No.
Yeah, it doesn't even exist probably in the textbooks and stuff.
Yeah, somewhat. But
Yeah.
we know that there is Israel. Like, we acknowledge that, but we don't like in Saudi. Like, we don't study it to some extent. Like we.
Yeah, but you just reestablished international relationships with Israel, which is pretty cool. So anyway, listen. So the idea is that we're always learning. We want to learn how to ask. Just ask what would be even a delicate question. Is there any question that there's no question? You were fine, right? You're wide open talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing he could have asked that would have be like.
I just have zero filter whatsoever.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And so I think that many people actually do have zero filters. I'm surprised. Like, most of us do. Most of us actually are really open to talking about things, but yet we're afraid. Like, we hold back. So I think it's cool, dude. Thanks for hopping up there. I sort of volunteered you.
No, it's all right.
All right. So hang on. Wait. Father and wait, Jordan.
Yeah.
Thanks. Can we give a round of applause? Thanks, man. Oh, wait. Can you guys go here first? Just do a screenshot of that. Or do you have your phone with you? Okay, after class. Just come after class. You can bring your phone up after class. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so listen. Let's go to the next one. Wait, hang on, Alex, okay, a student who identifies as ideally African American, not African, okay? And when I say African, in this class, what's going to happen, how about up at the top? All right, good? Yeah. When I say African American, what I mean is, and just for this class, right? You trace your ancestry to slavery in North America. Because we'll talk about like Caribbean American, Afro-Caribbean, African. There are a lot of African students at Penn State. So we want to so if I say African American, it's because it's a very kind of a specific thing. And then a middle-class white student, any middle-class whites, you want to go for it? Okay. You're like, all right, man. You can have a seat. Yeah, you can sit up there. Dude, look at the two of you. Oh, damn, man. Dude, have a seat. Yeah, you can sit up there.
Swag.
Well, hang on a second, man. What's your name?
My name's Alonzo,
Alonzo. Where are you from?
Northern Virginia.
Nova.
Yes.
And where are you from? What's your name?
My name's Anna. I'm from Pittsburgh.
Anna from Pittsburgh. Look at this, man. This is just so awesome. Dude, life just keeps getting better. This is why I wish I could live forever. It just gets better. Okay, so your question is, next one. take a look at this. You might have to just turn around. So for the first time in the United States, the number of Americans who identify as white has declined in a particular decade. So white Americans will soon be a minority. White Americans are a minority in many places, like in California and so on, right? But compared to Americans of color, so, all black and brown people, all right? So, Alonzo and what's your name again? Anna? Yeah. Anna. So, Alonzo. Wait, hang on. I want to make sure I thought this out. I want to make sure I got it right. Can you find out, that's pretty big. She's her peeps are gonna soon be, which are my peeps, right? Are soon gonna be in the minority. I'm I'm gonna want to know, to white people, what? I got 100 what questions do you have for her about that? About how she sees that, thinks about it, whatever it is.
Is that something that's on your mind?
Not daily, I don't think so.
Dude, that's an awesome opening question, by the way. It's just wide open. And when you get her, she didn't give you a lot on that. So then you're like, oh shit, she didn't give me anything. First off, it was a closed-ended question. So you want to open that question up so that she can't answer it with a yes or a no. But that was a really nice opening question.
Okay. I guess what, on this topic, well, first, have you heard of this, statistically happening?
I feel like I've heard a little bit of it, especially by right-leaning people on Twitter and everything. They try to say oh, well, white people are going to be the minority, things like that.
Like the Great Replacement, I think is what it's called, right?
What was that?
The Great Replacement, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, shit.
See,
yeah.
black people are on this, man. You know what I mean, Anna? White people, we think we got it down, but a lot of stuff goes over our head. But people are paying attention, my friend. All right, go ahead, Alonzo.
So, can you elaborate on certain I guess fears that you've seen associated with this happening?
Dude, that is awesome. That is such a cool question.
I don't know. I feel like the fears associated with it are very they're pretty racist undertones and everything, because I feel like a lot of white people are afraid that they're going to be treated like how white people have treated minorities, and they're afraid that it's going to the switch is going to flip on them, and that it's too late or something.
Okay, so
She gave you a lot there.
So you consider yourself left-leaning, I presume?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess what is it that doesn't make you have those fears, or as much, or as any?
Right. That's a good question. I don't know, because the world has so many different kinds of people, and I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. I don't know how to get into the mind of someone that has those kind of fears. I don't know. I personally don't have them. I don't know. Do
you experience being in a minority on a non-racial way, in your life?
Probably just being a girl sometimes. I don't know. That's my closest, I think, answer to that.
Okay, hang on. We're going to flip it. Anna, you ask him a question now, because he has his own experience of this, right?
Okay.
Go ahead and ask him a couple questions.
Well, how do you feel about it?
That?
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect me like that.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that I don't think that in terms of an economics or in economic status or socioeconomic status that's really getting crazy in terms of white people dwindling, which I think that's very important, because again, like Archon, I think, said, like socioeconomic status is very like important when you're being discriminated against.
Yeah. Can I just ask you this? What do you think about white people?
That's loaded.
Dude,
That's loaded.
dude, awesome, man. God.
It's like on one hand, it's like I feel bad because it's like, man, it's like you gotta like tiptoe a lot, you know? You can't like say stuff like I could say something like, yeah, I'm racist. Like you can't just say that, you know what I'm saying? And I can like joke around about it, and you know. On the other hand, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, because I kind of like grew up around like, or being a minority. So I'm kind of used to seeing like a lot of white people. I mean, I grew up in a primarily Asian community, but like seeing white people was never like, unless I watched like Roots with my mom or something, then it's like, man, you know? But other than that, like, yeah, other than the AFAM classes I've taken here, you know, like, I don't know, there's not much of an opinion. I mean, it's like, y'all are cool, y'all are not cool, like, just like everybody else.
Do you ever feel like any like white person in your life or around you kind of, I don't know, like tokenizes you at all?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. Do you have a follow-up question? Come on.
How?
Better yet, here's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
Hang on. Better way to say it. What does that look like?
What does that look like?
Like being a token. Well, yeah, like growing up, I was a big nerd, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be honest, you know, I wasn't that represented. You know, black nerds were not that represented. I'm glad they are kind of more so now with, you know, groups like RDC World being like popular and saying stuff. You know, like, oh, he got caught in 4K. That's them. You know what I'm saying? That's culture right there. So I'm glad that like, you know, black nerds can be represented in a lot more ways. But even so, it's not that as ubiquitous as I would like it to be. So it's like I get tokenized all the time in that regard.
Dude, black nerds on the fly, man. Awesome. Dude, great questions. Your questions, the two of you asked some amazing questions. Once again, thanks. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, man. Hey, yeah, thanks. Yeah. Make sure you, once again, make sure after class you come and we just want you to scan that so you can, you don't actually have to scan it, you just got to go to the volunteer page, so. Hey, also, just so you all know, when you are watching the class from home, what will happen is right at the end of class, Julie and Haley and I will put our heads together and get the 4 questions in line and load them up on the canvas, and then you would take that quiz, and each question is worth 0.5 points. You get all 4 right, you get your 2 points for attendance. And you try to get it up within an hour at the end of class. We'll try to do it as quickly as possible. But okay, so are we going online here? Who do we have? Let's see. Yeah. What we would like for a volunteer would be somebody who considers themselves really liberal, like a social justice warrior type liberal. No, you don't have to be super warrior-like, but you know, like pretty, but very liberal. Like you're in, you get it, bro. Is that you want to go for it? All right. So, are we in? You can sit right. Actually, bro, sit right. No, hang on. Sit right here. Yep. Well, no, we're going to have to do this differently. Hold on. We're going to have to go this way because you're going to be up there. So you're going to have to sit back here. Like here. Yeah. How do we got? Do we have, first off, let's just do this, man. What's your name?
Owen.
Owen? So you got Owen from here. And, dude, who do we have on the screen?
Hello.
Yo.
Hi.
Yo, what's up?
Okay.
Dude, so.
Okay, you can all see me then. Okay.
Yeah, we got you. So is this Matt?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Okay, I'm in Italy actually.
In
I'm not
Italy.
even enrolled in this class. I just follow along since, I don't know, maybe 2019.
Dude, awesome, man. Opinionated Matt, right?
Yeah.
All right, so listen, man. This is Owen. Can you see Owen all right?
Hi.
And Owen, so when you're
Yeah, I can see
talking,
him. Thank you for switching the position because I could also just see them from the side.
yeah, okay, yeah, I changed the position, so you're good. So listen, so when you're talking to him, Owen, you can talk right into the camera, but that's who you, so Matt, what I want you to
Yeah.
do, so Owen is kind of a, do we have this thing in the United States, justice, go to the next slide if you could, justice and social justice. And I want you to try to
Okay.
figure out from Owen what the difference is between them. So your job is to just ask as many questions as you can.
Okay, then. Social justice, does it mean that there should be a equality on means or possibilities?
Sorry, could you run that by me again?
Okay, social justice, does it mean that you should have equality over means?
Of
So
opportunity.
actually stuff you have or opportunities?
That is a good question. I think that it means that, yeah, people, no matter what background they come from, should be afforded similar, if not the same, opportunities. I think it acknowledges that the means that people are coming from might not be equal, but I think it's at least an attempt to kind of bring people to a similar level, or at least bring those with less means and less opportunity up.
Okay, so then maybe you could say that if social justice is, how you say it, achieved, then justice should come in hand. So if you have social justice, you also have justice then.
I think it will help contribute to that, but I mean, I think there are issues outside of social issues. Like, obviously, you think of justice as, like, you know, fighting crime stereotypically. And while I think a lot of crime is tied to social issues and economic issues, I think that solving social issues, or at least making them a lot better, won't fully stop issues like crime and other injustices like that.
Okay, so then it brings us to the question of what justice is. So depending on the person seeing stuff or experiencing stuff, then something can be right or wrong. But that's also, would it mean that justice depends even on the social justice status of a person? So maybe someone that has more, has a different point of view when it comes to justice than someone that is not?
I think that one's opinion of what justice is almost entirely dependent of where they come from and what their experiences are. Yeah, I think that somebody who has a lot more might think of justice a lot differently than someone who has a lot less. And yeah, it's pretty hard to kind of put a pin in what actually is the right justice. Yeah, I don't really know what the right middle ground is there, how to solve that exactly.
Hey, Matt, let me ask you this
Yeah.
question. Go into the world of race. So here we got two white guys, an Italian. Where are you in Naples? Where are you in?
No, Bologna.
Bologna. Okay. And so we got two white guys talking about social justice, okay? So it's pretty cool, right? That's what we want, right? White men talking about social justice. Go ask a question related to that. See where Owen goes. Wait, first off, do you have a question about him? Like, he's Italian. Like,
What is there any large source of inequality in Italy? I don't really know much about any sort of social issues in Italy. What do you hear about
So
in the news
there's
a
a
lot?
big, yeah, typically you wouldn't, because things don't go as badly as other countries. So there's no news to be had. So the principal issues would be the geographical location of people. There's a huge divide between the north and the south, pretty much as you would have had during the secession war in the U.S., but
Yeah.
without any significant slavery. I'm mad at.
dude, I love how you call it the secession war. Yeah, the war of northern aggression. All right. Do you have another question?
No, I was just gonna say I definitely have heard of Sicilians considering themselves not exactly Italian or separate in that way. So yeah, I guess I did kind of have that sense, but.
So,
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's the usual economic divide between people. A lot of rich people, no, not many rich people, and a lot that struggles. As anywhere in the world.
so I have a question. Here, ask him something about how often the Italians they talk about this movement in the United States, and do they have a similar movement there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so social justice is a hot button issue on sort of both ends of the political spectrum in the U.S., and it gets talked about a whole lot. Does it get discussed very much in Italy, or is it does it get discussed but about different things?
So things here are different when it comes to the political scene, because from my point of view as an Italian, I would say that your left movement or the Democratic Party is in the right of what the political spectrum is in Italy. And that means that we have a broader spectrum of ideas. Pretty much Bernie Sanders would be something in the middle right, middle left, if even. Okay, and that means that we do not have though all this commotion about it, because we are used to it, to these issues being instrumentalized by the politics. So there's not much of a fight in any kind of scene.
Interesting. Yeah, I've definitely heard that the American left is kind of closer to the European center, or at least that's kind of what I've heard.
Dude, nice. Hey, Alonso, hop up there. Hey, Matt, you were watching the last segment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's Alonso back.
Hi.
Ask what
Hi.
question? What question do you have for him?
What question do I have for him?
Yeah, as a black guy.
Okay. Do you think your experience in life would be really different if you weren't in the US and you were in Europe?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. And
I don't know much about Europe, but yeah, I think it would be.
Could you say you maybe say more or something? Yeah. Hey.
okay, no, I was asking. Oh no, you're talking to him, to Alonso, right?
Alonso. Yep.
Yeah, I was saying I don't know much
Okay.
about Europe, but I do think it would be different. Especially like, I don't know. I feel like some countries, like just being very predominantly one race, it's like it's a completely different like spectrum when you're talking about like the U.S. 'Cause I think the U.S. is very like different from other countries.
No, because often, as you will learn, often Sam refers to America as not the worst country when it comes to discrimination. So I was wondering what the expectancies or the view on Europe would be from a black guy, considering himself maybe living in Europe.
Hey, Owen has a question for you.
Yeah, how
Okay.
are black people treated in Italy if it's different at all? Probably is.
Okay, so just to keep things straight, we have still are a predominantly white society, pretty much homogeneous, because yeah, we had immigration, but we don't have really any migrants that have any position of power in Italy. So in my personal view, I would say that it's not really that different from the US, but at the same time, you don't often hear about police people shooting at black people. But that's a different on when it comes to gun culture. So it's not really, but I would say that still there's a lot of discrimination going from two people that are not white in Italy. Because we are not really an open society in that sense.
Hey, gentlemen, thanks. You can stay right there. Hey, Matt, I have a question for you then. Final question. We have 1 minute.
Okay.
You have 1 minute to answer. What makes you watch the live stream out of curiosity?
Because I can find, often I can find something different, even from the same class. Or maybe I'm not just ready to internalize some concept that I've spoken in the classroom. I find it also useful and entertaining in a way.
Yeah, very cool. Hey, gentlemen, thank you. Thanks. Can we give him a hand?
Nice talking to you.
Thanks,
Bye, it
bro.
was a pleasure.
Nice talking to you too.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. We'll be in touch.